Okay, we're ready to get started. Today is Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. And this is the City Council's regular meeting that I am calling to order and giving notice to the public and to the City Council that at this meeting, the council may vote to go into executive session, which will not be open to the public, for consultation with our attorneys on any item listed on the following agenda. Can we have roll call?
Mayor Daggett.
Here.
Vice Mayor Sweet.
Here.
Councilmember Aslan.
Here.
Councilmember Garcia.
Present.
Councilmember House.
Here.
Councilmember Matthews.
Here.
Councilmember Spence.
Here.
Councilmember Spence, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, Mayor. The mission of the City of Flagstaff is to protect and enhance the quality of life for all.
Thank you, Mayor. The Flagstaff City Council humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of this area's indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands, still inhabited by Native descendants, border mountains sacred to indigenous peoples. We honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, present, and future generations who will forever know this place as home.
Thank you. Next up is open call to the public, which enables the public to speak to council about any item that is not on today's prepared agenda. We have it twice now and at the end of the meeting. You have 3 minutes. There's a timer here. And during open call to the public, the council can't respond to questions or ask you questions. So first up, we have a comment card from Stephen Poor, and you have a number of people listed on here. Can they all stand up? Awesome, thank you very much. So you have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I gave you a handout today with my comments. In those handouts, there's also a cover sheet on your May 20th meeting that had the executive summary with regards to fixing our street and where the funding sources were going to come from. There are 2 noted there. Also on page 5, there's Exhibit A, which talks about taking care of their streets in this contract and sidewalk. That's right out of your contract that you approved on May 20th. And there's a further sheet on page 6 on, again, from the contract you approved on May 20th that states, number 15, that sidewalks will be repaired and it's going to be 11,823 square feet. The sidewalks, just FYI, and I'll come back to this, on West Savannah Way are roughly 800 square feet. Okay, so well within and part of that contract. Also, number 31 on page 6, it states that there's going to be a rebuild of Savannah. This just to ensure you that Savannah is part of your contract that you approved, okay? And then page 7 is part of the letter that we all got, or most of us got, on Savannah Way. Some of our members of the street are not present, so I don't know if everybody got this. But it's interesting that on May 23rd, we got a notice that the funding for our sidewalk will be funded by us from a third source that the council did not approve. So, let me proceed. Earlier this year, as most of you know, I tend to show up at budget meetings. At one of those meetings, Sam Beckett, the director of streets for the city of Flagstaff, told me that a contract to repair West Savannah Way would be coming before council in late May. He told me that once the contract was approved, the work on the road and the sidewalks would begin in the summer and likely complete in September. And just as Mr. Beckett said, on May 20th of this year, during your council meeting, council approved CMR Construction Phase Service Agreement, Phase 2025, which basically you can go back and look at. That is the contract to repair a number of streets and sidewalks throughout the city that include west of Anna Way. The first source of funding that it noted was going to come from HERF, or the Highway User Revenue Funds, and what is commonly referred to as the gas tax, and that's the state shared, as you all know. The second source of revenue provided is the sales tax proceeds collected as a result of the 2014 voter-approved road repair street safety program. These are the only two sources of revenue that you approved to pay for the work done on west of Anna Way and the other streets and the sidewalks. Unfortunately, the taxpayers on west of Anna Way, as I mentioned earlier, received a notice 3 days after you approved a contract with two other sources of revenue, with a third source that you did not approve to use in this particular case. And this funding source, while not approved, what we're coming here to you today, some of my other residents of the street of west of Anna Way, is to instruct staff to stop their attempt at collecting funds from this unapproved source of potential funding to fix our road. And let me give you a little background information. The third funding source referenced in Ordinance 2020-02, approved by Council on January 21 of 2022, the ordinance provides that residents adjacent to a sidewalk in need of repair to be held responsible for at least 50% of the cost. Today, I might add, one councilman, Councilman Aslan, was present then and voted against that ordinance. In the past few years, a few contracts for street and sidewalk repairs have been approved by council. These contracts, like the one from Anna Way, specified funding sources. For example, May 5th, 21, council approved, that's 2021, council approved a contract for street and sidewalk repair in Coconino Estates. One street covered in this contract was North Crescent Drive. Over 50% of the sidewalk was repaired and replaced at no cost to residents. No mention of utilizing Ordinance 2020-02, nor was there anything mentioned about having discretion by the Streets Department to fund with that source. Street and sidewalk repair in Cherry Hill neighborhood also took place in the past few years, covering the streets East David Drive and East Hutchinson Drive. The sidewalks on these streets were repaired and replaced at no cost to adjacent residents. No Ordinance 2020-02 was brought forward to fund these repairs. It appears to me that the taxpayers of west of Anna Way are not being held to the terms of the contract that this council approved just on May 20th, and arbitrarily being asked to fund repairs under Ordinance 2020-2, while numerous other residents of Flagstaff did not have to pay under this ordinance to fund the repairs. Where is the equal treatment? In the summer of 2022, west of Anna Way suffered 5 flooding events due to West Pipeline Fire and the city's own code violation that happened in 1991. In 1991, the city of Flagstaff built a fire station 5 at Fort Valley Road. As part of that construction, drainage from the Schultz Creek was rerouted south from the fire station. That drainage pipe was approximately 4 feet in diameter, which connected to a pipe approximately 3 feet in diameter, which I've spoken to this council about numerous times, via to an open box. And going through a larger diameter to a small diameter is against City of Flagstaff code and every code in this country for the last 2 centuries. The water that came out of that box code violation was estimated by geologists to be 85% of the water that came on west of Anna Way. How much of that further damage to our street and sidewalk was caused by that flooding? I don't know. The water that came on my property caused by that code violation box, we suffered damage in 5 rooms in our garage. My neighbor suffered significant damage in his city's code violation. no Savannah Way resident came to the city to ask for reimbursement of expenses that are estimated to be north of $100,000. No taxpayer on Savannah Way sued the city for code violation damages. But today, Savannah Way residents are seemingly arbitrarily being asked to fund approximately $16,000 in sidewalk repairs. All we're asking for today is to treat us like the residents of North Crescent Road, East David Drive, East Hutchinson Drive. Fund our street and sidewalk repairs out of the funding sources stated in the contract council approved. Residents of West Savannah Way have already contributed to the gas and the sales tax that fund these funds. With regards to the project scope, I gave you Exhibit A, the contract approved by the states. Quote, the contract also includes removal and replacement of curbs and sidewalks at many locations of the streets. The contract summarizes 11,823 square feet of sidewalk to be removed and replaced. And West Savannah Way sidewalk replacements are estimated to be 784 square feet, about 6.6% of the total. The contract covers the square footage to replace West Savannah Way. Let's use it. Having attended many city budget meetings, I can tell you when we last heard from the city, the HERF fund had $10 million in it. Excuse me, they're going to bring in about $10 million a year, and you currently had about $14 million in your bank. The other fund from the sales tax had is going to bring in about $8 million, according to the city reports, and it has about $2.5 million sitting in the bank. These are the funding sources council approved to repair West Savannah Way Street and their sidewalks. The residents have paid dearly in time, effort, and water damage for these floods, partially caused by the city of Flagstaff, and asked nothing from the city of Flagstaff. The residents paid into gas and sales taxes, and now singled out to fund the contracted funds that have millions of dollars. Council, it might be a good time to go into executive session and discuss this with your attorney. I thank you, and I reserve any time to respond to any comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Noah Baker.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. Thank you so much for having me up here. My name is Noah Baker. I work for the Flagstaff Fire Department's Wildland Fire Management Division, and I'm also representing the Pine Needle Drop-Off Program as the Public Information Officer. So, let me get this right. Just want to give you a couple updates like I did a few weeks ago here. Since I was last in, we have completed one full phase. So we completed phase 3 of the project area, which was Anasazi Ridge, Rock Ridge area. Had really good success there, as we've had before. We did get feedback from our residents, which we are super happy about because we're going to take that into account for our recommendations for the project moving forward, mainly about timing of when the dumpsters are there, when they're emptied. So I was really thankful for that. We just yesterday started phase 4 of the project timeline, which will be in Cheshire Linwood area. We have 3 dumpsters. Radio silence, it's a pretty good thing right now. Seems like people are managing it on their own. Not a ton of questions, just the occasional phone call. Couple notes that I want to throw in there, keep it short and sweet. First one is for the program and for Wildland Fire Management Division, we do have a new intern with us, Asa Worthington. Really excited to have him around. Gonna boost a lot of capacity for that program and make it a lot easier for us to get information out. And the other thing I want to highlight is it's phase 4. We're getting there. We've removed a lot of pine needles, a ton of pine needles from the neighborhood. But it's a one-time solution. It has to happen every year, and we want to make sure our residents are aware that we need to keep cleaning up our pine needles, keep doing this good work. But the project's been a pretty good success, in my opinion, and I might be biased. But that's all I have for you, so thanks for having me up here, and I hope you guys have a good day.
Thank you, Noah. Brendan Trashel, or Traxel.
Traxel. I appreciate you trying. Thank you, Mayor. So, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Brendan Traxel, and I have lived in Flagstaff for about 5 years. Today I come to you with continued concerns regarding Flagstaff's flock camera usage, in addition to my public comment from March 18th, 2025. As established through my previous comment and additional readings sent to the council in writing via email, flock safety cameras are an extremely problematic technology. Through private contracts with over 5,000 entities, including Flagstaff PD, Flock has built a nationwide, consolidated, private, and warrantless database covering the daily movements of millions of people, which sounds crazy, but it's true. We are being tracked without any cause and with our own tax dollars. In my opinion, this alone is reason enough not to have such a system, but I continue. When I spoke to the council previously, how this technology would be used and misused was still being discovered. In March, I gave an example of a police chief in Kansas using it to stalk his ex-girlfriend over 200 times. Since then, my concerns have only been validated, which led me back here today. In the last 2.5 months since my last comment, we've had the following major developments. 1, in California, even though it is illegal, police departments are sharing flock tracking data with states that have banned abortion and are seeking to prosecute for out-of-state actions. 2, authorities in Texas performed a nationwide search of more than 83,000 flock cameras while looking for a woman who they alleged had a self-administered abortion, including cameras in states where abortion is legal, such as Washington and Illinois. And 3, nationwide, police departments have been tracking people through flock on behalf of ICE to assist with deportations. We also know through API data that flock is in negotiations with the federal government to gain full access to their database. These examples represent the rotten core of this technology. You do not have control over how it is used. A resource that may have been meant to track stolen vehicles here in Flagstaff has no protection against being used by an overarching state or federal government. This is an inherent trait of dragnet surveillance and is why it must be avoided at all costs. To conclude, I'd like to highlight that Flagstaff PD does not participate in the Flock Safety Transparency Portal program, which means that the public does not know how many cameras there are, where they are, their usage policies and statistics, the number of lookups by the police department, audits on the reasoning of those lookups, or literally anything. I've had to find all this information myself, walking around town looking for these cameras. I again plead with this council to take action to cancel this contract. I'll be sharing more readings via email to the council after this. I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Reginald Walden.
First, I would like to thank Councilmember Garcia for inviting me today. The existence of our national parks was not inevitable. We could have very easily lived in a timeline where Yellowstone is broken into tiny parcels, where the Grand Canyon was flooded under huge reservoirs, or where the Everglades was drained, or redwoods became only stumps and memories. I have worked in national parks all over the country, in Death Valley, Yellowstone, Cape Hatteras, Theodore Roosevelt. I became accustomed to neglect from Washington. But what we see now is not neglect, it is malice. Interior Secretary Burgum and his privatizer friends are trying to do everything they can to sabotage and dismantle the National Park Service, of which is crucial to the economy, culture, and identity of northern Arizona. Their end goal is to get rid of National Park Service sites. Now, which ones in particular are under threat? Interior Secretary Burgum says that he wants to get rid of sites that are not called national parks. And the White House's proposed budget for the NPS was so drastic that it would entail removing 75% of all National Park Service sites. They want to start small with sites like Wupatki, Sunset Crater Volcano, Walnut Canyon, but they aren't going to stop there. If they can get away with selling off Walnut Canyon by transferring it to a state that is ill prepared to maintain it, then they're going to work their way upwards. They'd go after medium sites, Canyon de Chelly, Mesa Verde, Petrified Forest. And if they can get away with that, then they'll try to sell off the crown jewels of the park system: Zion, Grand Canyon, Yellowstone. A future where national parks become only trophies of the rich or looted for their resources is not inevitable. We can stop this if we get loud. And if our parks are here for our children and grandchildren, it'll be because of people like all of us today.
Thank you. DJ. DJ.
Hello, City Council. Hi. I have the flag with me today. I just here to talk about something completely different. You know, I have learned a couple things during my 15 years of homelessness. I learned that if I take the number 73, and I do 5 fingers, I get the year. I get 365 days. So I get on top of that calendar system. The linear calendar system is awful, isn't it? We have some months with 28 days, 31. It doesn't make any sense. But I got the entire year right here. 73, 73, 73, 73, 73. I don't know, something I figured out. I also figured something else out. It's about time. A lot of this is just about time. Like, I also, a lot of people throw these numbers around like 1 million and 1 billion. And so I did the math on the difference between a million and 1 billion to try to get on top of it. I found, okay, so if we convert 1 million seconds to time, 60 seconds, please check my math. There's probably a problem here. 1 million seconds, that means 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, 365 days in a year. That means 3,600 seconds in an hour, 86,400 seconds in a day. That means 31,536,000 seconds in a year. So we find out that 1 million seconds is just over 11 days. Okay? And then we look at now let's take a look at what 1 billion means. A billion divided by the 86,400 is 11,574 days. So we divide that by 365 and we get 31 years. So according to my math, and please pull me aside if it's wrong, but 1 million seconds is just over 11 days, and 1 billion seconds is 31 years. So it's quite like a difference in, like, we talk about 1 million or 1 billion. There's a quantify that is just major. It's unbelievable how much difference it is. Well, I'm here to talk about time as well, because I think it's time for me. I mean it. I really think it's time for me. I mean it. If anybody wants to argue that DJ needs to be homeless and injured one more day, please state your case. I mean it. 15 years homeless. I am a minotaur. I mean it. I can't get out of homelessness. I'm too badly injured. I need a law firm. I need help. I mean it. I need an employment attorney. I got destroyed by Walmart for no reason. I'm being destroyed homeless. I mean it. And I'm starting to contact the Jewish community because I've been to Germany. This doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to the founding fathers.
Thank you, DJ. Colleen Maring.
Good afternoon. Is this on? There we go. Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. My name is Colleen Maring. I'm the Chief People Officer at Northern Arizona Healthcare. And I wanted to talk about two of our values at NAH today in a very specific way. We have 5 values at NIH that were self-identified by our staff in 2017 and just reaffirmed last year. And the 2 I want to talk about are respecting differences and building community and how we live those at NIH. One way we do that is we recognize 6 cultural heritage celebrations or months each year, and one of those is Pride Month, which is this month, the month of June. For every cultural celebration, we host a lunch and learn that are open to all colleagues to learn about the cultural traditions, heritages, and celebrations. And today we hosted our 2025 Pride Lunch and Learn, and we heard from Zane Jacobs of the Northern Arizona Pride Association, as well as, I'm gonna butcher her name, but thankfully she goes by Dr. K, who is building NAU's Indigenous Queer Two-Spirit Studies Research Initiative, which she has great plans to become a research center here at NAU. Zane walked us through the history of Pride in Flagstaff, from advocating for equal rights to starting the Pride Parade and being a part of that movement. And he shared what the Northern Arizona Pride Association is doing on suicide awareness and prevention in partnership with NACA. And Dr. K talked about some other initiatives, including we spent a lot of time learning about the intersection of the Indigenous identities and queer two-spirit identities that her work seeks to understand and affirm and make space for in Northern Arizona. Zane also told us something that you may or may not know. Our own council member House is supporting this year's Pride Parade, making sure that everyone who wants to participate is able to and is not prevented by cost or means from participating, from walking in the Pride Parade. We will be there as well. We're excited to celebrate on June 21st. We also will celebrate in February, Black History Month, but we're looking forward to the special partnership to recognize Juneteenth between the Pride community and the Live Black Experience community here on the Pride weekend. So again, our 5 values at NIH, each of them are important, but our cultural celebrations, including this Pride month of June, we really try to highlight our work in respecting differences and building community. And thank you for the opportunity to talk about what we're doing.
Thank you. Jeff McCormick. No.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Jeff McCormick, Economic Development Manager for the City of Flagstaff, and I'm here this evening to express strong support for Green Business Boot Camp and to encourage continued investment for this impactful program. I'd also like to take a moment to share an exciting update about the program. Our latest in-person cohort is wrapping up soon, and 11 local businesses are currently enrolled. Their graduation will take place on June 12th at 5 p.m. at Moonshot Business Accelerator, and you'll be receiving an official invitation in your inbox later today. And we'd love to have you join us in celebrating their achievements. The Green Business Bootcamp does more than promote environmental responsibility. It also drives economic resilience. It equips local businesses with knowledge and practices to improve sustainability and boost their market competitiveness. The program, conducted in collaboration with Local First Arizona and Flagstaff Sustainability, reinforces Flagstaff's climate objectives while stimulating innovation and growth in our local economy. Similar to our Innovate Green Challenge, the 11 businesses that participate in this cohort are all encouraged to deliver a 5-minute pitch of their business concept. Instead of a cash prize, participants are provided with tools where they can use in preparing presentations to customers, distributors, and potential investors. They're eligible for low-interest microloans through Local First Arizona. So we want to make sure that you're all invited to the event and to express our appreciation for your continued support. And the flyer that you'll receive will look something like this. So thank you for your time and your continued leadership.
Thank you. All right, we are moving down to proclamations. We have one proclamation today for gun violence prevention. So if all of our supporters would come down and meet us at the end of the dais. Every day, an average of 125 Americans are killed by gun violence, and there are more than 19,000 gun homicides every year. And Americans are 26 times more likely to die by gun homicide than people in other high-income countries. Arizona has 1,228 gun deaths every year, with a rate of 16.4 deaths per 100,000 people. Arizona has the 16th highest rate of gun deaths in the U.S. Gun homicides and assaults are concentrated in cities, with more than half of all gun homicides in the nation occurring in 42 cities. Cities across the nation, including Flagstaff, are working to end the senseless violence with evidence-based solutions, and protecting public safety in the communities they serve is a mayor's highest responsibility. Support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from those who are a danger to themselves or others. Mayors and law enforcement officers know their communities best and are the most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it. In January 2013, Hadiya Pendleton was tragically shot and killed at age 15, and on June 6, 2025, to recognize the 28th birthday of Hadiya, who was born on June 2nd, 1997, people across the United States will recognize National Gun Violence Awareness Day and wear orange in tribute to her and other victims of gun violence and the loved ones of those victims. To help honor her and the more than 100 Americans whose lives are cut short every day, and the countless survivors who are injured by shootings every day, a national coalition of organizations has designated June 6, 2025, the first Friday in June, as the 6th National Gun Violence Awareness Day. The idea was inspired by a group of Hadiya's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods, and orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. We renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our families and communities safe. Now, therefore, I, Becky Daggett, Mayor of the City of Flagstaff, declare the first Friday in June, June 6th, 2025, to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day.
Hi, my name is Julie. Sorry. Okay. You know, I wore this jacket I got about 15 years ago from my husband because I used to wake up about 5 a.m. in the morning and walk every morning in the dark. And he got it for me to be safer, you know, so cars would see me when I walk. I didn't think that in 2025 I would be here as the survivor of a mass shooting that killed 14 of my friends, or wearing it to represent awareness for gun violence. We have a lot of gun violence in this country, and through action of Moms Demand Action, or Moms, sorry, you know, we can curb some of this through smart gun sense legislation and keep the people, our children, people at work, people at church, people at concerts safer. Thank you for acknowledging this and for giving us this Friday of recognition. Thank you.
I just want to thank you all for listening, and also invite you to come to 2 of our events this week. You can find more about our organization and the day at weareorange.org. But this Saturday on the courthouse lawn from 10:30 to 11:30, we're having a yoga for healing class. It's free, and just come on out. And on Sunday, we're having a blood drive from 9 to 1, and it'll be close to the library, right around the corner from here. So please, if you can, participate and wear orange on Friday. And if somebody asks you what you're wearing it for, just say, you know, I'm against gun violence. Okay, thank you.
All right, now to council liaison reports, and I'll start with Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing to report today.
Councilmember Garcia.
I too have nothing for you today, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Councilmember Aslan.
Yeah, so I had 3 commission meetings this past week or 2 weeks. The first I'll mention is the Coconino Plateau Water Advisory Council. We met on Friday morning. Councilmember Garcia was there as well. And the main thing to really highlight for everyone is the discussion we had around the rural groundwater management area legislation, which is the status of which is still very much up in the air. And then we're having a groundwater resiliency workshop on June 18th, which is being run by some folks at ASU and U of A. Anyone up here at this dais who's involved with water should really flag that. It'd be great to attend. NAMWA is a little bit involved in that as well. It's going to be a really dynamic group conversation. It's going to happen at Public Works, again, June 18th. It's an all-day thing. I unfortunately will be in Chicago with the IPW for tourism, representing Flagstaff, and won't be able to make that. But great, a lot of excitement and a lot of resources going into this conversation that is going to be super relevant for all of us up here, and lots of other folks doing water in Northern Arizona. Abe, I see you in the background over there. He's going to be involved in that as well. Okay, so another one, the Tourism Commission met, and this was a pretty standard meeting for tourism, monthly, just going over reports and what's the word I was looking for? I can't think of it. But just discussion of numbers on trade shows, conferences, missions, marketing, advertising, earned media and film commission stuff, highlights of media coverage, and highlights of a couple of things in social media. There's a Ghost Adventures thing happening in Flag. which I think is a year or two out probably before it's released, but an exciting film moment this past month. So again, just lots of little things to report on. That entire report and presentation is available online where agendas are found. And then finally, we had a Sustainability Commission meeting, which I previewed for you a couple weeks ago, during which we had a presentation from one of our Innovate Green Business Pitch Competition winners, and that's TechGenie, which is a pretty interesting thing. And we also had an update to the carbon neutrality plan from Jenny, and all of us, I think, up here are fairly already familiar with that. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Thursday, there is a Metro Plan meeting here in council chambers 1 to 3. We're going to be having the last cap update, a traffic demand management update, and the 2024 trip diary survey report. For Mountain Line, I just wanted to remind everyone that the DCC is moving forward and opening soon, and folks are going to start moving in. I'm excited to see the finished product. And Monday is the BPAC meeting, 4 o'clock here at City Hall.
Councilmember House.
Nothing for me today. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Spence.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to highlight that tomorrow is the regular every other month meeting of the Transportation Commission. And the important thing for the public to be aware of is that there are 2 committees that report to the commission. There's the Committee on Bicycling and the Committee on Pedestrian Access and Safety. So these 2 committees form the backbone of the work of the Transportation Commission, and I'll be able to report after tomorrow's meeting.
And I have nothing to report. So we are up to liquor license public hearings. And I am going to open the public hearing, and we'll have a staff presentation.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Stacy Salzberg, the Communication and Civic Engagement Director. Before you tonight is a liquor license application for a new application for a Series 5 government license for the City of Flagstaff's Express Flagstaff Visitor Center, located at Pulliam Airport at 6200 South Pulliam Drive. The agent on the application is Trace Ward, with Jessica Johnson as the manager. The Police Department and Community Development Divisions have conducted their respective investigations, and their reports are included in your agenda packet. There are representatives from both the Police Department and Community Development to answer any questions, and we also have representatives here from our Economic Vitality Division, should there be any questions on the operation of the business.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions? And we have no public comment?
No, Mayor.
I'm going to close the public hearing. And council, do you want to deliberate, or would someone like to make a motion?
Mayor, I'd like to move that we forward this application to the state with a recommendation for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Next up is the consent agenda. All matters under consent agenda are considered by the City Council to be routine unless a member of the City Council expresses a desire at the meeting to remove an item from the council agenda for discussion. The consent agenda will be enacted by one motion approving the recommendations listed on the agenda. Unless otherwise indicated, expenditures approved by council are budgeted items. So we have items 8A, B, C, D, E, F. Council, are there any items that you would like to pull for discussion? All right. So I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Moving down to routine items, 9A, consideration and approval of preliminary plat.
Good afternoon, council. I apologize. I didn't realize that that walk would take longer than I thought. All right, good afternoon. My name is Ben Mejia. I'm a planner with the City of Flagstaff Planning and Development Services. For your consideration today, we have a preliminary plat request for Atlas at Timber Sky. The request is filed by Capstone Homes for a single-family subdivision resulting in 60 lots on 6.36 acres in the high-density residential zone within the Resource Protection Overlay. The site is 2490 South Alvin Clark Boulevard. Staff approved this preliminary plat on April 11th, 2025. To give you a little context, to the north of this site is a multifamily residential condominium project known as Habitat for Humanity Timber Sky in the HR zone. To the south is a single-family residential subdivision in the MR zone. To the east is a multifamily residential development in the MR zone. And to the west is a single-family residential subdivision in the R1 zone. Giving you a little background of Timber Sky, the zoning map amendment and annexation was approved in 2016 for a maximum of 1,300 residential dwelling units in the Timber Sky development area. Right, here's the preliminary plat. Again, this is 6.36 acres in the HR zone within the Resource Protection Overlay, proposing 60 single-family units, a mixture of attached and detached units. They are utilizing PRD standards or planned residential development standards, and so are using the setbacks and meeting the minimum lot size for PRD and HR zone. And they're providing a pedestrian connection to the parcel on the south property line through a trail in the southeast corner. There are stormwater detention basins on tracts B and C that's up in the northwest corner in the east property line. And as I said before, this is in the natural resource or resource protection overlay, and a natural resource protection plan was required. This site doesn't have a ton of resources to preserve, but there is a rock outcropping in the southeast corner that is being preserved, as well as 50.3% of tree resources, which are all located on this eastern property line. And that 50.3 exceeds the 47.5% preservation that's required for Timber Sky. As for the zoning code standards for PRD in the HR zone versus density, HR zone allows a gross density range of 10 to 29 units per acre within the resource protection overlay inside the pedestrian shed of an activity center. The proposed net density of this project is 12.27 units per acre, with a gross density of 9.43 units per acre. The development agreement allows for the averaging of density across residential blocks throughout Timber Sky. Resources are primarily preserved outside of lots. We saw that on the resource protection plan. They're mostly located in tracts. As for lot sizes, they meet the minimum sizes for planned residential development. The minimum lot area of 2,000 square feet. They're proposing a range of sizes, but primarily 2,024 square feet and going up to around 3,831 square feet. The typical lot dimensions are approximately 27 feet wide by 75 feet deep, and that meets the 20 by 50 required for PRDs in the HR zone. Now this, PRDs are required to provide 5 points of design elements that is being met for this project through the use of 2 design elements. The first one being that the average dwelling units are no larger than 1,800 square feet, not including the garage, and that gives them 3 points. That'll be tracked throughout the submittals of building permits. And then the second is that the subdivision includes enhanced pedestrian environments, including outdoor seating areas or larger landscaping areas, and there's 1 point for each, and they're proposing 2 outdoor seating areas. One is located close to the western entrance of the subdivision along Alvin Clark, and the second is located along the pedestrian path in the southeast of the subdivision. Cultural resource clearance was completed with the original approval of Timber Sky. Open space and amenity area requirements are provided within the Timber Sky development, as well as the PRD requirements for common space on the property. And sidewalks are provided throughout the subdivision. This project meets engineering standards. Public system analysis was conducted to confirm preliminary compliance with engineering standards, but will be confirmed with civil engineering plans, which is the next step. And access and traffic, the TIA was not required for this subdivision, but it was completed in conjunction with the original rezoning for this development area. This project proposes new 8-inch water and sewer lines tapped to each lot, and provides regional detention, or there is regional detention for the entire development area, but there's also tracks B and C providing drainage on this site. So with that, it meets preliminary plat procedures, application requirements, and minimum required subdivision improvements, as well as the identified public systems analyses that we spoke on the previous slide, and subdivision standards and regulations for lot, street, easement, and block design. So with that, staff recommends the City Council approve the preliminary plat in accordance with the findings presented in this report.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions for staff? Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. As far as I can tell, Ben, everything here looks fine for a preliminary plat. Meets all the requirements I could see. But so I don't necessarily know if this question is relevant to this specific topic, but I don't know any other chance I'm going to have the opportunity to ask it. And so I'll just go ahead and ask. Does the city have any idea how many second homes will be sold because of this plat, or how many Airbnbs will be? And I asked that question because in an adjacent division built by the same partners, back when I was a delivery guy, I had delivered on a road where there was very few residents that lived there year-round, so it's a concern of mine.
I understand your concern, but I don't have an answer as to what the proposed sale of these homes would be used for.
Thank you.
Council, any other questions? All right, I'm going to take public comment. Abe Springer.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. My name's Abe Springer. I've resided in Flagstaff for over 30 years and in Adora at Timber Sky the last 2 years. My wife and I are full-time residents of Adora at Timber Sky on Lockwood Way, abutting Atlas at Timber Sky. Atlas is proposed to be built north of our backyard and our street. We really appreciate the opportunity to express our concerns. We found our first and only opportunity to provide input on this entire planning process. The residents of Edora have not been consulted during the planning process and have been provided with very minimal information. So let me ask you a basic question. Would you buy a new home in Flagstaff with mountain views, knowing that you would have high-density construction in your backyard blocking those views? The Atlas at Timber Sky plan was not disclosed to us when we purchased our home. In fact, we were told that at most there would be a parking lot behind us. We searched city council meetings, minutes, planning and zoning commission reports and minutes, and found no plans for this Atlas at Timber Sky have ever been revealed prior to this preliminary plat. Many details of the development are not provided in the information with the preliminary plat. Some of our specific questions include the following. What are the number of stories and height of the units? Is the height consistent with the adjoining one-story, single-family homes in Edora? The height and number of stories has not been disclosed. What is the grade control at Atlas? The preliminary plat only shows the pre-construction topography. What will the topography be after construction? What are the setback distances after grade control and drainage placement? So as a solution, we want to offer some solutions. We would recommend the preliminary plat be revised to address some of these issues. One recommendation we have is the location of the drainage basin be moved from the northwest corner to the southwest corner of Atlas. That would be consistent with the existing grade control. It would prevent extensive excavation and filling to move the grade control to the northwest corner where it's proposed, and it would make much more efficient stormwater management on the property. Based on other construction we've seen at Timber Sky, we're concerned about dust and sound mitigation and abatement. Construction typically starts at 5 a.m., continues for 12 hours, and because it's almost all bedrock, we get jackhammering sometimes 8 to 10 hours a day. And we're concerned about this during the construction phase of this neighborhood right behind us. We really appreciate you listening to our concerns, and we look forward to better coordination of the planning process with the existing homeowners in Edora. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to address some of the questions and the concerns, and then also talk about what public outreach is going to come from this point forward?
Sorry, there were a few things brought up, so I'll try to remember what Mr. Springer had mentioned. But the first that I recall was that there wasn't review of the height of a building, and that's not, or that would be a typical process for a plat, is not to review the specific height of a single-family home in a single-family home subdivision. Now, there are the standards that were provided earlier in the presentation that speak a little bit to the sizing of the structure, but that would be atypical to require that level of detail of building design at a plat level. We would see that with model plans and building permit review. As for public process, a plat is not a public hearing. They have the entitlements for this project to develop this project, and so it wouldn't be typical to require neighborhood meetings or public outreach for a preliminary plat.
How long has this land been zoned for what is intended here?
Since 2016.
Council, do you have any other questions or comments? And what is the next step so that the neighbors know what the next step in this process is?
Civil engineering plan review, and then it would be final plat.
Okay, thank you. All right, Council?
Mayor, I'd like to approve the preliminary plat as recommended by staff.
Move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Moving down to public hearing items. Item number 10, A, I am opening the public hearing, and this hearing is on the 2024 Biennial Development Impact Fee Audits.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. Brandy Suda, the city's Finance Director. So this public hearing is on development fees as required by Arizona Revised Statute, Section 9-463.05. This statute was amended during the 2011 legislative session that provided further guidance and regulations on development fees, as noted in the staff summary. While the city has been collecting development fees since 2009, the city adopted an updated public safety development fee plan in May of 2014 and to conform to these new state's requirements, and the city has since adopted an updated plan in November of 2020 with an effective date of January 17th, 2021. As part of the adopted plan, the city had a choice between creating an advisory committee or adopting the requirement to complete a biennial audit, and the city chose the biennial audit option. We entered into an agreement with Heinfeld Meach and Company to comply with the state requirement. With me tonight is Mike Lazan, a CPA with Heinfeld Meach. This biennial audit covers fiscal year 2023 and 2024, and the report was posted May 2nd of 2025. The agreed upon procedure report, or the audit report, does present two exceptions. The first exception is that 2 of the building permits tested, the development fee amount was not assessed correctly. We discovered that the old development fees were assessed in error, and the city had undercollected in both of these cases. We immediately inactivated the old code in the permitting system to prevent future errors, and we tested some additional samples of building permits in fiscal year 23 and 24, and no errors were noted. However, we are currently doing a more thorough review of our building permits issued since the new fee was in place in January of 2021. Preliminary, we have identified some additional errors. Finance and building safety will be working together to identify these errors and taking the necessary and appropriate action over the next months to rectify them. As well as we are reevaluating how to prevent these types of errors from happening in the future. The second exception presented was a variance on growth projections in the land use assumptions. This is something that will happen. Most likely we will have this exception every year when we put together the study, they're based on certain assumptions and we're comparing that to what actually happens. So as part of the biannual audit option, the city is required to hold a public hearing within 60 days of the report being posted. The report is available on the city website, and there's no action for council to take on this item. Mike Lazan and I, as well as Amy Tressler with Public Safety, are available for any questions.
Council, questions? Sage insights? All right, thank you very much. And we have no public comment, correct?
Correct.
All right, so I'm going to close the public hearing. And that's it.
Thank you.
It's closed. All right, moving down to item number 11 of our regular agenda. Item A, consideration of the adoption of resolution number 2025-33.
Hi, Mayor and Council. Robert Wallace, Open Space Supervisor. We had a presentation in May for you on the trail plan, and myself and colleagues from SDR and the Forest Service are here to answer any of your questions that you have here tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. Council, any additional questions? And no public comment, so I will entertain a motion to read the resolution by title only.
Mayor, I move to read resolution number 2025-33 by title only.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? City Clerk?
A resolution of the Flagstaff City Council adopting the Greater Observatory Mesa Natural Plan.
And a motion to adopt?
Mayor, I move to adopt resolution number 2025-33.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Robert. Moving down to B, consideration and adoption of resolution number 2025-31.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. Heidi Derryberry, the city's Budget Director. I am here this evening to present the city's fiscal year 25-26 tentative budget for adoption via resolution. I do have a short presentation related to this item, but before I begin, I would like to take a time to thank Council, the Budget team, the Budget Section staff, Finance staff, and all city divisions for their time and efforts in preparing the City Manager's recommended budget. As you know, this is a significant task we embark on annually, and we would be unable to accomplish this without the efforts of so many. I would like to start this evening with a short timeline of the upcoming council meetings for the adoption process. As you can see, this evening, June 3rd, we are here to approve the tentative budget adoption. This process sets the maximum appropriation for the budget, as well sets in motion legal requirements for final adoption. I will be back in 2 weeks on June 17th for the public hearing for final budget adoption and tax levy, as well as the first reading of property tax ordinance. And then again, 2 weeks after that, July 1st, we will have the second reading and adoption of the property tax ordinance. As you can see before you, the total fiscal year 26 budget is approximately $523 million. The general fund makes up approximately 23% of the total budget, or approximately $117 million. Special revenue funds such as HERF, transportation, and BBB make up 29%, or approximately $153 million. Our debt service funds, such as the general obligation bond and pension debt service, make up another 4%, or approximately $22 million of the total budget. Capital project funds, such as Prop 441, Prop 442, and the Downtown Mile project, make up another 12%, or approximately $62 million. And finally, the enterprise funds, such as water services, solid waste, airport, and SEMS, make up 32%, or $169 million. As you can see, this is a $56.7 million, or 10% decrease over the fiscal year 2024-25 budget. Some highlights of our budget this year are the city focused on compensation and benefits. Priority-based budgeting continues to be a driving factor for our key community priorities and objectives. We focused on basic services and operational needs of the city, as well as infrastructure needs. Continued focus on the climate neutrality plan and our housing 10-year plan. And then another highlight, this budget does include property tax flat levy plus new construction. Since this was a big portion of our budget process, I did pull out a slide just to talk about our employee investments. So again, as council is aware, ongoing pay for performance and step increases are included in the budget, as well as projected for future years. Market adjustments to specific classifications in the regular and step pay plans are included, as well as maintaining a cost share for all of our medical plans. The total recommended compensation and benefit commitment in the fiscal year 25-26 budget is approximately $4.3 million. I would like to take a few minutes to talk about the changes that we have seen since the April retreat. The only changes to the proposed budget since the April retreat, which was shared with council, is related to carryovers. Just to refresh the council and the public, carryovers are related to items that are not expected to be completed by June 30th or delivered. This can result from a variety of reasons, but may include capital projects that take more than one fiscal year to complete, or purchases of goods such as vehicles that are not delivered by June 30th due to availability or supply chain issues. I'd like to go into a few detailed areas of the carry forwards. The first area I'd like to talk about is our capital improvement program, or CIP carryovers. This total was approximately $46.4 million and included a number of facility projects, transportation projects, and water services projects. For example, general government projects included an IT fiber project, the Montalvo project, the USGS building renovations, and our Foots open space land acquisitions. Transportation projects included such items as the Lone Tree Overpass project, various bike and ped projects, including the Schweitzer Canyon Trail, and pavement overlay projects. And finally, water services projects, such as the water meter replacement project, the BNSF sewer relocations, wildcat pumps, as well as a suite of spruce wash drainage projects. Operating capital carryforwards of approximately $11.6 million included items, fleet purchases, facility maintenance projects. Examples of fleet purchases that were carried over are items such as fire trucks that currently have an 18-month or more build and delivery time, as well as a variety of vehicles on order but not expected to be delivered by June 30th. Some facility operating capital projects include a number of repair and replacement capital renewal projects, including items such as the rubber flooring replacements at J. Lively, various HVAC replacements, and ADA improvements. This also includes reserves and catastrophic funds. Operational carryovers were approximately $18.2 million, and this really includes a variety of studies, software, and other contracts. Some examples include developer incentives for affordable housing, Prop 442 funding for adaptive reuse, rental incentives, and down payment programs. And finally, the last category of carry forwards for this year are the operating grants. These were approximately $6.4 million. These included funding for CDGB for housing, fire shed and forest restoration projects, as well as several sustainability and grants, including the HUD Flagstaff Home Energy Retrofit Program. That concludes the presentation I have. Before you is just some additional information related to the tentative budget. The budget will be available tomorrow in written print at the city clerk's office, as well as our libraries, as well as it will be posted on the city's website. If you also are available to request from myself, and my information is included here. The tentative budget will be published in the Arizona Daily Sun on June 5th, as well as June 12th as required. At this time, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Heidi. Council, questions? Comments? Councilmember House.
Thank you, Mayor. Not a question, just a comment to continue is thank you to you and the full budget team for all the work that went into this. We had numerous budget meetings, as you're well aware, but over the past several months, and just knowing how much work and labor went into this and how much thought and all of the processes that the full team had to engage in collaboratively to get to this point is just very impressive. And just wanted to continue the thanks for all of that work and getting us to this point. So thank you.
Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I just also wanted to pile on with the thanks, and really, since it was my first time going through the budgetary process as a council member, I wanted to thank the manager's team as well for giving us all of the information that we needed ahead of time, and also keeping us up to date with some of those additions, like you mentioned, brought back to us to explain where things were going, and also to, from what I noticed, to really highlight what the council's priorities were and put those into the budget. It really helped make things more succinct for me and more understandable. I also wanted to comment on the 10%. It seems like we're doing a really, really good job with less. You know, almost not necessarily maybe more with less, but in some cases we are doing more with less. And I really appreciate that, you know, all the hard work that staff is doing to make sure that we can keep everything going in the city the way it should be, even though sometimes we don't get the funding that we necessarily require. Thank you.
All right, council, I will entertain a motion to read the resolution.
I would like to make a motion to read resolution number 2025-31 by title only, please.
A second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you.
Mayor.
Oh, yes, please.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Flagstaff, Arizona, adopting the tentative budget for the fiscal year 2025-26.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 2025-31. Did you say 26?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Now I can say thank you. All right, moving down to C, consideration and adoption of resolution number 2025-34.
I took a college course in extemporaneous speaking.
You may need to get up and I'm on the right one, right? Okay. Okay, good.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Council, Vice Mayor. Sorry about the delay there. Yeah, so this is a clerical error that was made in the published fees for new meters in the city of Flagstaff. A 3-inch meter was published, I don't have the numbers in front of me, about $50 below what it should be. And the 4-inch meter was published at about $50,000 below the recommended rate by Stantec. So this is to correct to the rates that Stantec recommended so that we can collect the proper amount of capacity fees on new meters.
Questions, council? Councilmember Matthews.
So could you expand on that a little bit? So what the rate that we were charging is 50,000 under?
Yeah, if you give me 1 second, I'll grab my laptop. I have the numbers in front of me there. Okay.
Take your time.
Okay, Councilmember Matthews, the 3-inch meter fee was published as $81,456. It should be $81,459, so only $3 difference on that one. And the 4-inch meter was entered as $84,849, and it should be $135,791, and that's a $51,332 difference.
Thank you for giving me that information. I'm trying to search my brain, and I apologize for not researching this earlier. it just kind of passed by me, but my memory was telling me that these fees were going to increase up to like $26,000. What am I missing here?
I'm not aware of that discussion. This was previous council meetings when we're
Yeah.
going through the rate study prior to the rate increase. I don't have background information on that. Erin Young was tuning in remotely, and maybe she has an answer.
Madam Mayor, she just raised her hand too, I noticed. Erin did.
Erin, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi there. Good evening, everyone. The capacity fees were published when council adopted the rates and fees in July last year. And the capacity fees were correct in Stantec's report, but they weren't correct in the PowerPoint that was given to council. And they weren't correct in the red line version that Rick Hatter and I gave to the city clerk. So the costs, the changes, I could probably pull up the escalating changes to capacity fees. It wasn't one uniform rate that capacity fees were increased. It was like I don't want to say exponential, but the rate was different for each meter size, if that might address your question.
Thank you, Erin. Can you, by chance, tell me what, before this increase went into effect, what the old fees were for 3 and 4 inch meters?
So that is the fee that Lee Williams just read. Well, actually,
Prior to the approval of the rate increase.
let me check. I believe it's what Lee Williams just read, but let me look at the red line version here.
So a year and a half ago, it was $84,849.
You know, I'll have to look at the red line version from July last year. So that would take me a minute or so to pull up, because that wouldn't be really proportional. But that's what was adopted on accident last year, those two values. So I could pull that up. I just need a minute here.
So I'm sorry, I'm just a little confused. So I understand that the information that we approved was incorrect, but I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around what it was before we ended up approving the increases for sewer and water.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let me see here.
Mayor, if I might, when the council voted, the information approved by council was correct. It was just not entered correctly. And that, technically, this was a clerical error, but when you have a clerical error to the tune of $50,000, that's why it's being brought back to you.
Thank you.
So on the presentation, it was correct?
What council voted on from the Stantec report was correct, but the presentation did not have that in it. That's what I've understood. Erin, correct me, or Lee, if I'm mistaken there.
That's correct, Sterling.
Okay, Shannon just put up the screenshot. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Aslan.
Yeah, while we're working on this, I'm also curious if any user has tried to avail themselves of this cheaper rate that was posted.
I would have to ask our Rick Tatter on that one, but we don't sell too many 3 and 4 inch meters. So probably, if there is somebody, it's not a huge horde of people coming for cheaper rates.
Yeah, and Lee, I know one came through to Jackson, one of the 4 inch meters, but they withdrew their application. So we didn't have to issue them the lower fee.
Thank you, Aaron.
Councilmember Matthews?
We're just going to say thank you for the information.
You're welcome.
And so if someone had come in with an application, you would have honored the lower amount that was printed?
I think we would likely honored it. Maybe Sterling or Aaron or Rick can correct me on that, as it was published incorrectly. And that's why we're trying to correct this clerical error and give 60-day notice so that we can get the correct fees assessed later.
Correct.
And then it would have, any difference would have just come out of the budget, a contingency or something?
Yes, Mayor, it would have come out of the water services budget.
Council, additional questions? And no public comment?
No, Mayor.
All right, I will entertain a motion to read the resolution by title only.
Mayor, I move to read resolution number 2025-34 by title only.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? City Clerk?
A resolution of the Flagstaff City Council adopting a notice of intention to increase water rates or rate components, fees, or service charges to correct a clerical error, setting a public hearing date on August 26, 2025, and establishing an effective date.
Thank you. And a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Lee.
Mayor and council, thank you.
All right, consideration and adoption of resolution number 2025-30. Here comes housing.
Is that better? Cool. Thanks for having me here tonight to talk with you more about our Community Development Block Grant 2025 Annual Action Plan. We have made just a couple of changes to our original recommendations, nothing huge, so I just want to kind of go through it really quickly with you all, and then we will be here to answer any questions, and we'll be requesting that you pass a resolution allowing us to submit our annual action plan to HUD. So the first thing to know is that we did finally receive our final allocation from HUD for the year, and it's quite a bit more than we had originally anticipated. I was anticipating that it would be less than last year, and it's actually about $60,000 more than last year. And so the reason our recommendations have changed is because we had that additional money. We have additional capacity to award public service funds. As you'll remember, those are usually capped, and so we want to maximize the amount we're able to use of those funds. And maximize the amount we can use for administration of the grant as well, so that we're not necessarily using general funds to pay for administration of our CDBG program. So first, I just want to go over quickly the proposals we've received. I'm going to go through them one by one so you can see them more in depth. Housing Solutions of Northern Arizona requested $280,000 to assist with the purchase of 2 permanently affordable rental units, 1 studio and 1 one-bedroom. These will help them offer those as permanently affordable rentals. Community Assistance Teams of Flagstaff requested $30,000 for their Cats on Wheels program. This includes reconditioning used bicycles. It also included the purchase of bus passes and bicycle maintenance clinics for individuals experiencing homelessness, but really anybody who might be in need of those services. Homeless Youth Connection requested $40,000 for their Empowering Youth for the Future program. This provides coaching, youth coaches for students enrolled in high school, pursuing a degree, and experiencing homelessness. Northland Family Help Center requested funds to create a position in their youth shelter for a case manager for the youth that are staying there. This would primarily help youth exit the program and maintain permanent housing and be able to obtain employment so that they can transition out of the shelter. And Tinkertopia requested $120,000 for public service funds to run their new Tinkerspace initiative. This is primarily focused on youth ages 14 and up, whereas Tinkertopia is more for really anyone of all ages, but more of a creative space. This would be a maker space specifically to help youth that are interested in career readiness in the STEM or the STEAM industry. And then lastly, with any remaining funds, staff has suggested that those be used to replace playground equipment in the Brandon Homes area. This would benefit not only the folks who live in Brandon Homes, but also the residents who live in Pine Knoll, which is a CDBG target area. So this year, our final entitlement allocation from HUD was $656,638. We have past year program income. Just to remind everybody, these are loans that the city has with homeowners from rehabilitation or down payment assistance that have now been paid back because those homeowners no longer live there. They've decided to sell, something like that. And then we have a little bit over $15,000 in de-obligated funds. This is just from when when an organization ends their contract, maybe they have $1,000 left and it's not really easy to bill that amount in their next billing, or they underspent, they didn't need all of the money they were awarded. That's what these funds are, and so we're able to reprogram them to use them. So with our our actual total available being $779,809.26, we would then be able to use over $145,000 for administration and indirect costs. We would max out our public services category at a little under $115,000, and that would leave slightly less than $520,000 for housing or public improvement projects. And these are our final funding recommendations. So our recommendation for Housing Solutions acquisition has not changed. We think that that should be fully funded. Under public services, we had originally recommended funding Northland Family Help Center and Homeless Youth Connection to the max amount, but we now have an additional $19,000 available. And so what we did was we spoke with community assistance teams of Flagstaff about their project, and we asked if they would be able to use the funds not just for transportation or bicycle program, but for outreach services in general, which would include all of the outreach services they provide, plus bus passes and bicycle maintenance for those who are in need of that. But it would cover really the entire organization scope instead of just that more narrow scope of work. They were able to continue with that program, utilizing that $19,000, even though it's not the full amount that they requested. And so our recommendation is that we maximize those public service dollars. They're always so that section is so competitive because we usually don't have nearly as much as we have requested from the community. And so our new recommendation is to include that funding. And then to use $145,000 for admin and indirect. You'll notice that this amount and our public services amount are slightly less than we're allowed. And that's just to be careful and make sure that we're not coming up right against those caps and triggering HUD to say, hey, you spent 0.1% more than you were supposed to, or something like that. So with the remaining funds, we are recommending that we utilize those for playground equipment in the Pine Knoll neighborhood. Depending on how much that project costs, we may come back and ask if we can utilize any remaining funds for something else. We're not quite sure what amount of that funding it will take to do a great job in replacing that playground equipment and improving landscaping in those areas. So those are our recommendations for this year. We're here to answer any questions. I know because CATS wasn't originally part of our recommendation, they're here tonight to answer any questions since they weren't here at the last meeting. So if you have any questions for them or myself, I am glad to answer them, and we would also love to entertain a resolution for authorizing submission of our annual action plan.
Thank you. And council, I don't know if the rest of you have been kicked out of Teams. So I need to see if you have a question, I need the old-fashioned kind of one of these. So, Councilmember House.
I really want to do Muppet arms now, but thank you for the presentation. I don't really have any questions, but just wanted to share how exciting that is to hear that we got more of an allocation than we were anticipating, and to see that we were able to then allot that into programs that were not previously able to be funded before. So very excited to see that change and shift.
Thank you.
Councilmember Garcia?
That's an ode to former Councilmember Rick Swanson's jazz hands. Maybe I'll bring that back into the fray from here on out. Whenever you see this, just remember Rick Swanson. Anyways, I wanted to invite the CATS folks to come up and speak to their program if they would like to, since they made an attempt to come all the way down here. Yeah, more than an attempt.
So you're asking for us to speak to what we're doing right now? Is that
Just the
question?
funding allotment, what is that
Yes.
going to, how is that increase going to benefit the program? And what can we see as far as outputs for that $19,000?
So as you saw in the brief that was shared, Community Assistance Teams of Flagstaff is looking forward to continue to not only operate on the terms of like making sure that we're meeting the needs of our Cats on Wheels program, which is, you know, refurbishing and retooling some of those bikes, getting the materials needed for that, but also to make sure that we have not only those bus passes purchased and in having funding for our staffing so that we can continue to do our outreach. We've been strategically organizing ourselves so that we could add another outreach day to our schedule so that we're reaching more of our population out in Flagstaff.
Thank you. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to add some voice to what you guys are doing with the community. And that's quite an impressive workload for the funding that you will be receiving. So we appreciate the extra work that you guys are doing to make that money go a long, long, long way for our community.
Yeah, we appreciate the council's support.
Thank you very much. Council, do you have questions, comments? I will entertain I don't see any public comment, so I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make
I'd like to move to read resolution number 2025-30 by title only.
And I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? City Clerk?
A resolution of the Flagstaff City Council approving the City of Flagstaff Community Development Block Grant Program Year 2025 Annual Action Plan and authorizing its submission to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you. And now I'm looking for a motion to adopt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd love to move to adopt resolution number 2025-30.
I'll second.
Nice to see that you guys worked that out. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item E was withdrawn, so we move down to item F, which is consideration and adoption of resolution number 2025-24.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Joanne Keene, Deputy City Manager. I'll be covering this item with some help from Jackie Lenners, who is the Deputy General Manager for Mountain Line. So today before you, we have a consideration and adoption of a resolution approving an amended and restated Master IGA intergovernmental agreement with the City of Flagstaff, Coconino County, Northern Arizona University, Coconino Community College District for the support of the Northern Arizona Intergovernmental Public Transit Authority, NAPTA, or Mountain Line. So today, this is an amended IGA that's coming before the council. If there are specific questions, Jackie's here to answer those. But all of the parties to this IGA have submitted changes that they wanted to see in the IGA. A lot of them were just kind of small technical changes. This has been amended several times since it was originally adopted in 2006. So this is the latest version. And Jackie, if I could have you kind of talk about probably the biggest thing that's included in this amended IGA for Mountain Line.
Thank you, Joanne. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. Jackie Lenners, Deputy General Manager at Mountain Line. And yes, so this is mostly updating a lot of outdated things, removing fax numbers and replacing them with emails and things like that. But the biggest reason behind the timing of this and doing it now is to make clear Mountain Line's rights as property owners. As I think many of you know, we do have a parcel of property adjacent to our current facility for the next few days on Caspar, and have the intentions of working on a public-private partnership to develop that for some type of affordable workforce housing. So there is actually, we are going through an RFP process for that right now. So our legal team felt that the IGA as it was, although granted us that ability, was not explicit in it. So that's the biggest change that you will see in this IGA is clarifying our rights as property owners to enter into this agreement with a potential public-private partnership for that land. So everything else in there has been agreed upon, as Joanne mentioned, by all of our partners, has been reviewed by all of the legal divisions, has been reviewed by our board, which Vice Mayor Sweet and Councilmember Matthews both sit on. Thank you both. And that's really the biggest change to the IGA. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Thanks so much. I see no public comment, so I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we read resolution number 2025-24 by title only.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, City Clerk.
A resolution of the Flagstaff City Council approving an amended and restated master intergovernmental agreement between Coconino County, Northern Arizona University, the Coconino Community College District, and the City of Flagstaff for the support of the Northern Arizona Intergovernmental Public Transit Authority, or Mountain Line.
I move that we adopt resolution number 2025-24.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Moving down to G is consideration and approval, use of the council initiative funds. I believe we have 2 requests, so Vice Mayor and Councilmember House.
Thank you. Guess I'll go first. I did bring up, I had asked for some support for the Flagstaff Family Food Center, and I believe there's a brief presentation on what this would go to, and Joanne, kick it away.
Thank you. I'm trying to find the presentation. I thought I put it on here. Is it there? Can I just not see it? I just can't see it. Okay. Oh, there it is. Thank you. Oh, my goodness. Here we go. Okay. Mayor and Council, Joanne Keene, Deputy City Manager. I'm just going to go through just a couple of slides just on the Council Initiative Fund. The Council Initiative Fund currently has $6,600 remaining for this fiscal year for consideration. And as a reminder, these funds do not roll over to the next fiscal year budget. They must be contracted by 6/30/2025, so in a few weeks. And then council will have an additional $25,000 that they can spend starting July 1. So just some background on the Flagstaff Family Food Center request, and I know you should have a card here. I know Ethan is here as well for any questions. But staff received a $50,000 funding request to support Flagstaff Family Food Center operations, and this request came in late April. This request actually came in after our staff had presented the budget for 25-26 and received council approval on April 25th. Therefore, staff at this time is not able to add additional funds to next year's budget to support this request. We had several city council members, I believe, that have also been contacted by Flagstaff Family Food Center or been at events. We wanted to bring this request forward, and I know there was a request from Vice Mayor Sweet. But as you know, the $6,600 does not cover the $50,000 in the request. I am good at that much math, so I can. So I think for today, what we wanted to just have the discussion with council is whether council wanted to provide some council initiative funds this year for this request. If council does want to provide funding, how much of that $6,600, and I know there is at least one other request, potentially others out there. And then does council want staff to look for some additional funds for next fiscal year that we could allocate in the budget? I'm covering this for Rick Tatter today, who's on a well-deserved vacation. If you want staff to kind of go back and look for some additional funds to make up the remainder of that request for Flagstaff Family Food Center. So with that, Mayor and Council, I'll answer any questions. I know Brandy Suda is here as well. We have a whole team of experts in the room. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and do we want, I had a little brain. Let's hear about Juneteenth as well, and then we can start deliberating.
Thank you, Mayor. So just briefly, we have an opportunity this year to support numerous Juneteenth events that will be taking place throughout the city of Flagstaff. There is a series of events, a week-long series of events starting next week, actually, with the Southside Community Association. And I am proposing that we support the Saturday Community Festival, which has always been a free event for the community, but obviously incurs a lot of expenditures for Southside and their partner organization, the Coconino County African Diaspora Advisory Council. Southside serves as the fiscal partner for that, so I'm proposing supporting that event. And then the Live Black Experience group and the Sunnyside Community Association are sponsoring, in partnership with Pride this year, a number of events, including a community event on Heritage Square in downtown. So the same weekend as Pride, and in a unique collaboration with them, we have not been able to fully partner in those events over the past several years. And so this is a really unique opportunity that's been presented with Pride coming forward and suggesting full partnership with the Live Black Experience and their fiscal partner in Sunnyside. So I think it's a really unique opportunity for us to support those events. As council heard earlier, I'm supporting personally Pride a great deal this year, and so I'm really looking forward to the opportunity bringing this to council. The total that I am suggesting is $1,000 for both, so $500 to each organization to support, again, the community festival with Southside and the community festival through Sunnyside.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing that forward, Councilmember House. I'm very supportive of your ask of the $1,000. I think it's a big community asset, and I would like for council to be part of that. That does leave, if we do that, so that would be $5,600. And I would like to ask that we spend the rest on the Flagstaff Family Food Center. They provide for our community, and they need our help right now. And I also would like to identify additional funding and have staff look into that. Thank you.
Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, I got confused for a second. Councilmember House, I had a question. So half of the ask was for the Pride portion connected to Sunnyside Neighborhood Association or connected to the Market of Dreams?
It's for the Juneteenth partnership, so that is Pride and the Sunnyside Neighborhood Association.
Thank you for that clarification. I had mentioned something about council discretionary funding that I wanted to bring up for Market of Dreams, so that would be, I'm just wanting to make sure that there's a distinction between the two. Good, and that doesn't have to be discussed now. I kind of was wanting to wait until after July for that one. So that's good on that one. I wanted to thank Vice Mayor Sweet for sure for for finding a way, really. A few council meetings back, I had mentioned the Flagstaff Family Food Center and what we could do to help them, and you really kind of showed me like how we could actually help them right now, knowing that there wasn't the kind of support that I was hoping to look forward to them on this fiscal year. We could look for that in the future. So thank you for showing me that, Vice Mayor. That was really cool. And of course, I do stand behind looking at the future budget and trying to shoehorn them in any way we can, as much as we can.
Thank you.
That being said, I support both asks for the both amounts. And I also wanted to ask Councilmember House one last time. Is that going to be enough for each of them? Because I was looking at that other $600 amount, and I was thinking maybe we could play with that a little bit.
It will be enough for both of them, and I came into the meeting anticipating asking for the 1,000, and I didn't know the full amount left, but I would very strongly support then giving the 5,600 in full to the Flagstaff Family Food Center and looking at other additional funding opportunities by staff.
Thank you. I'll yield to your discretion.
So I am going to take public comment, and we have Ethan from the Flagstaff Family Food Center.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. I would like to acknowledge Summer Grandy and Sylvia Johnson and Carol Dykes. They're here with me today. I hear the support in your voices, so I just want to let you know I appreciate that very much. We're here as representatives of our clients, and our clients, many of them are our neighbors, and so we actually refer to them as our neighbors, and many of them, I'm sure, are your neighbors. So I think I'd just like to bring it back because much of my report that I had sent revolves around numbers and pounds and food boxes, but we're experiencing so much need, and we're constantly reminding ourselves that these are people, and I'm sad to say that upwards of 20% of our clients are children. Summertime, I know a lot of the food programs decrease, and our programs increase tremendously in terms of how many people come to us, and so we're doing all that we can, and we're really putting our money where our mouth is and paying for things and renovating and trying to increase capacity to make sure that our workers are safe, we're more efficient so that we can serve more people who are in need. And I feel like we've done a great job of that, but we're just constantly nearing our glass ceiling and just wondering how much more can we do? And I don't mean to fearmonger or anything like that, but I feel like at this point it's going to be a collective effort. And so we've never, at least in my time here, have formally come to the council in this manner. And so we really appreciate that support. And whatever it turns into, we're excited to just begin the conversation here. And it starts in many different areas. We know that handing out food is a main thing for us, and we like to keep the main thing the main thing. But Mayor, we'd like to thank you for the op-ed and that opportunity there to share about what it looks like federally for us. What do SNAP cuts look like for us? What does it mean for these programs to get cut? What does it mean for our neighbors to have their need increase? Because those are all very real issues that are hard to understand. And so we just want to get more and more information out there. And I have an incredible team that is working hard every day. And we're so thankful for that you all can acknowledge that. So thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Ethan? Councilmember Matthews.
Hi, Ethan.
Hello.
Last time you and I were together at a function, you were giving me some pretty staggering numbers. Can you go over those? It was number of meals or number of people served, and also whether it's 6,600 or 5,600. Like, can you equate that to how many meals that will help provide
sure.
to our neighbors?
Yeah, so I appreciate that opportunity. So in 2015, we served around 80,000 meals in our community kitchen. And in 2019, we served 241,000 meals out of our kitchen. So that it shows that there was a need before the pandemic. And that's quite a significant increase. And then when the pandemic happened, the need actually decreased a tiny bit. And you're wondering why? Well, it's because so much support came from the government that people actually started to have their needs met. And so that kind of is an indicator, like, wow, there's some power there to make some change. Well, as some of those acts started to repeal and the money went away, we started to see a significant increase, especially over the last 2 years. So in 2025, we expect to serve over 525,000 meals this year. So just a reminder, 80,000 meals 10 years ago, 241,000 meals in 2019. And then 2025, we're going to hit probably 525,000 meals. When I say meals, these are prepared meals out of our kitchen. We also are going to hand out probably 90,000 food boxes. And the entire program is probably going to hit 8.2 million pounds of food. Which makes us probably one of the larger food banks in the country, probably in the top 30%. So we're not a small food bank. I think small food banks and pantries have their place and they make significant impact. But for sure, we're one of the larger ones, and we've been challenged to start acting like one in terms of influence. Now, regarding the meals, that's a tricky one, council member, but I will figure it out here in 1 second.
Let Joanne know if you need her to do the math for you.
Yeah. I just thought about it. This is being recorded, and my donors are going to call and ask, like, hey, you said, but I'm guessing that's going to be around 14,000 meals for us, and those are prepared meals out of our kitchen, which is quite a lot, and that goes pretty fast because we serve about 1,400 meals a day at a minimum, upwards of 2,000. So it provides enough operations for us to support people for just over a week, which is significant for us.
Then I have one more question for Joanne. Joanne, you mentioned identifying other funding. I'm struggling a little bit. You know, I'm on the Indigenous Commission Committee, and we've got the Indigenous Peoples Day and Code Talkers Day, and you know, those are really important. I know they're going to ask, I think, staff for some help on that. But it's hard to compare feeding starving children to our activities and stuff, not taken away from giving some support to Juneteenth, but is there room? Can we look to see if we could give the food bank the 6,600 and find the 1,000 somewhere else to then do the other two events?
Mayor and Council, Councilmember Matthews, I think if council sticks with the 1,000 and the 5,600, then we could take it back as staff and look for maybe not the remainder of the funds that the Flagstaff Family Food Center has asked for, but out of our next year's budget. So I'm not sure kind of that $1,000 at this point would make
Make a difference.
that much of a difference.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
I'm not, to your work, yes, but I'm saying just as far as financially for the city.
Thank you for that.
Councilmember Garcia.
Actually, I just pushed the button by accident, but since you're up here, Ethan, I'll ask you a question. I'm sorry, it was my hand made a move. I was going to ask a question. Councilmember Matthews talked about, direct correlation between dollar amounts and meals that you could put on the table. Is there other opportunities, if by chance in the future the city is able to partner with you guys and allocate some funding that way to to use that money to get fresh fruit from down in the valley or fresh vegetables and stuff that's being grown locally, to kind of garner maybe more of a healthy food plan or any of those type of things? Can you speak to?
Yeah, we would definitely take advantage of that opportunity if that was a priority from the council. I will say that's a priority for us just overall as an organization. When I started in April 2022, we served about 40% of our food that we handed out was what we call fresh products. It's the proteins, the dairies, the veggies, the foods that we might deem as healthier depending on your perspective. And so that number is now closer to 65%, so we've made significant efforts to secure healthier foods. We also are applying for maybe the LFPP, which I couldn't tell you what that stands for at this point. We just say LFPP, but it's a federal grant opportunity that is looking to secure funding from local farmers, and that would be fresh produce. The challenge for us is, and it sounds like you acknowledge that in your question, is getting fresh local food here because there's a limited amount of farmers. But we're looking for opportunities to secure that kind of food in general. So we're interested in the conversation if that was a priority, but I'll have you know that that's a priority for us overall at the organization.
Excellent. Thank you for speaking to that.
Sure.
I loved your announcement that your food distribution, at least in one location, people were going to be able to pick what they wanted to put in their food boxes. It's awesome. And I saw a beautiful photo of fresh vegetables. So just thank you. You stepped in to, Flagstaff Family Food Center has always met an important need, but you all go above and beyond to reach people who wouldn't otherwise be reached by any kind of food services. And this is the foundational critical need that people have. And I appreciate your board and all of your staff. You're just a wonderful group of people and a fun place to volunteer, if anyone wants to volunteer. Council? All right, I don't see any other questions or comments. I will entertain a motion to divvy up the council initiative fund as we have discussed, unless you want to make a motion that is different from that.
I move that we divvy up the council initiative fund as we have discussed tonight.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you. I wish that it could be $500,000. All right, moving down to item number 12, future agenda item requests. A is a request by Councilmember Spence to place on a future agenda a discussion regarding the method and timing for the selection of vice mayor.
speaking briefly to this topic, I'd like to review the history of how a vice mayor is chosen in Flagstaff. Between 1960 and 1992, the effect of the procedure was to have the highest council vote getter in a fall election to become a vice mayor-elect for 2 years, to get seasoned and experienced in what a vice mayor is called on to do, and then that person would become the actual vice mayor for the final 2 years of their 4-year term. In 1992, the procedure was changed to what we have now, namely the highest vote getter in the fall of a given year immediately becomes the vice mayor for two years. So my request is that we put on the future agenda a discussion of going back to the previous method, the method in effect between the charter of the city and 1992, to give a period of seasoning for the vice mayor as a vice mayor-elect for 2 years.
Thank you. All right, so in addition to Councilmember Spence, we would need 2 other council members to give a thumbs up to have this discussion. So are there 2 other council members who want to have this discussion? All right, we will have that discussion. Moving down to B, future agenda item request. Request by Councilmember Garcia to discuss high occupancy housing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to withdraw that request. It looks like in September we're going to have high occupancy housing coming before us, which may or may not answer the questions I have, but if I still have those questions after that discussion, I could bring it back up as a fair, and I will do so. So we'll just carry on.
All right, thank you. Next up, open call to the public. DJ.
Thank you. I appear before you again. I have to drive this point home. What does it mean to wear an American flag as a mask? It means I'm in an argument with people that don't like this flag. I mean, it means I'm in an argument with people that just want to argue with me about, anti-Constitution, anti-Bill of Rights. I mean it. I wanted to say a big thank you to the City Council. Thank you to the City of Flagstaff. Thank you to all the wonderful people that are here. Thank you to the Sheriff's Office. Thank you to the police. I mean it. Everybody, this is such a great city. It's just most people here don't experience homelessness like I do. I know I might be going on and on and on about it, but I got to tell you, I've got to get out of homelessness someday. This doesn't make any sense to me. The abuse is incredible. It just isn't. I think I've talked to doctors. I'm experiencing what's called frontal lobe atrophy, which my brain is literally changing now. The Dr. Spence knows what I'm talking about. Other doctors know what I'm talking about. Let's see here. Oh, guess what? I think my constitutional rights have been violated. When I turned myself into the police in early 2024 for something that occurred in 2017, which is a minor thing that the judge released and went away with. Then they went after something else, okay? I was Rule 11, which is called a competence evaluation. That went from the municipal court in Flagstaff, and it kind of goes into like this gray area. In that file, it goes to the guidance center. I conducted a Rule 11 at the guidance center. Okay, I passed the Rule 11 because on March 26th of 2025 in the Superior Court, guess what they said? He said he's competent. The guy's competent to stand trial. What day is it today? It's June 3rd, 2025. That means 69 days. And that criminal proceeding, that file, has been in limbo. Where is it? Okay, I went to the municipal court, it's not there. I went to the Superior Court, it's not there, which means had that judge not granted that I could appear on my own recognizance, I would be a minotaur in jail right now, being destroyed by the sheriff's office. I mean it. And while I'm there in jail, where's the file? Where's the file versus DJ? Guess where? It's in limbo. It's not in the municipal court, and it's not in the Superior Court. That's 69 days of DJ being housed with some possible murderer or someone else eating with that person and sleeping with that person every single night. And so I plead, I wear the American flag for a reason. I mean it. I'm injured. And I have so much, it doesn't make sense to go any further and get injured any further. I mean it. Because it's about time.
Thank you. All right, seeing no additional public comment, I will go down to informational items 2 from Mayor, Council, and staff, and future agenda item requests. And I'll begin with Councilmember Spence.
I have nothing for this evening.
Councilmember House?
Just sharing with council that I will be traveling next week to a conference in Las Vegas. The location is just to the side. I am not having a lot of fun out in Vegas. I will be just at the conference, I promise you all. But I may miss next week's council meeting because I'll be on the road to get there and in a meeting that may run into council time, but if I can be here, I will try to do so virtually. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
I have a couple of things. One, I was at the Habitat for Humanity Blitz build for the starter home program out at Timber Sky. I believe Councilmember Aslan was there, and I was very honored to hear our mayor do a beautiful speech about affordable housing in Flagstaff. It was great. Thank you for those words. And I will be serving lunch out there on Thursday, supporting the 150, I think, volunteers that have come in from all over the country to help build these homes. And it is fantastic to go out and see it. I really would encourage you to go out and see it in person. It's just a very heartwarming moment. Also, Friday is Art Walk downtown, and Saturday and Sunday is Hullabaloo at Wheeler Park.
Councilmember Aslan.
Thank you, Mayor. Just thought I'd mention, yesterday my wife and I, we may not look it, but we celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary. And we'll be enjoying a getaway later this summer for that. But short term to celebrate, yes, Councilmember Sweet, my family and I put on hard hats and worked all day out at the Habitat site today, moving dirt and hauling very heavy boxes of laminate around. It was very satisfying. It's very fun to see all the activity out there. I was really surprised at how national the effort is. I would say a vast majority of the volunteers are coming from all over the country, and they're staying at the Motor Lodge if you want to find a great place to have a lot of fun this next week. That's all I have for now. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one thing this week. I had the rare opportunity to speak to some kids at Mormon Lake Camp. So I'll be doing that on Thursday. The speech will be about leadership and interacting through culture, art, and politics. So if anybody has any great zingers for the kids, please help me out with that. But if not, this will be my second time as a council person representing leadership, and I really do appreciate these opportunities. I guess I'm just kind of telling that to staff since that's where a lot of them come from. So thanks for that. And Vice Mayor Sweet mentioned Art Walk, and I'm looking at Councilmember Spence to make sure that I highlight the right place here, the Episcopal Church. So I think that they are still having their presentation on gun violence, which is correlating to the proclamation we read earlier. It starts around 6 o'clock, it lasts till 8 o'clock, and they usually do a really nice job down there. Thank you, guys.
I have an update or a little correction on that, Councilmember Garcia. This Friday, First Friday Art Walk is the opening of a new exhibit The gun violence was taken down a couple weeks ago, and the new exhibit is on gay and lesbian artwork, and it is an incredible exhibit. There'll be both music and speeches starting at 6 o'clock at Epiphany Church.
Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few things. It was great to go on the VIP tour with Councilmember Garcia on the Spruce Wash project. Is so impressive. I'd forgotten that I was on that tour with some of our local or our state senators back when the flooding just happened. And so to see that, and thank you, Deputy City Manager Shannon Anderson, for being our chauffeur. Were you our chauffeur? Was Scott? Scott was, okay. And then on Thursday, I was down in Phoenix at the state capitol. I'm on the committee with the League of Cities and Towns for Budget, Finance, and Economic Development. It was really eye-opening, very interesting, and I'm excited to be part of that committee. Friday, I think it was Friday, all my days, yes, Friday, I attended the, with Councilmember House, the retirement ceremony for Chris Thomas from the fire department. It was a great ceremony and great event. And then I too will be traveling. I leave Sunday to Indianapolis to participate in the Jumpstart conference with the airport and hope to bring home another airline to our wonderful city. I'm going with Brian and Claire, and we have our big debriefing or our briefing tomorrow to give us our talking points, and I'm really excited about the opportunities to maybe bring home another airline. So that's all I have for today.
I want to echo the kudos for the tour of the Spruce Wash area. Thank you, Scott, for being a great tour guide and letting my little dog come along. It's just the work that has gone in to all of the projects along the Spruce Wash area. It's really remarkable. The amount of money that staff has been able to pull in from different sources, all the coordination, all the work, just phenomenal. And thank you for arranging those tours so that we could get out there and see everything that's going on. City Manager.
Nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
We're adjourned.